So I've gone live. I don't know if you hear me yet, Jacob. We'll fix this live, so I know. Welcome to the show. I was just waiting to do my lame ass usual audio check when it goes live on the stream and see if I can hear myself. Someday. Can you hear me? Okay. Audio is good on stream. I can hear me. How about me? Uh, we're doing a little bit of a real world audio fix, audience. Where did the private chat go? Oh, there it is.
What is going on here?
Check your
Can you hear me?
check. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hello. Let me try it
We're
again.
good on audio there.
Be right back.
Okay, so while Jacob is having a few difficulties hearing events. Uh, so we have a bunch of topics to discuss in the Kingdom of Fandemonia's interest today. You know, and no unboxings. So next week there might be like 4 of them. We'll see how that goes. I got a book I want to talk about, which I'll do a review of, but I'm enthusiastic about the book. I know Jacob would like it, so we get the audio fixed. And yeah, that's a general show. Oh man, I find myself as I age. Uh, any better,
Can you
Jacob?
hear me?
I can hear you. Can
I
you
still
hear
can't
me?
hear you.
Well, we're live. Like, my voice is outputting to YouTube. Uh, check your oh let me no
What?
edit audio uh, check your audio output settings. Okay, we're working on this, guys. This is live. This is drama content. Unfortunately, I can't talk Jacob through this because he can't hear me. Let me see if I could edit name Jacob.
Output.
Can you see?
Input. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes. I
What?
guess you still can't hear me. I really hate that this YouTube change where you have to close the chat to see what like the box of information. This is not helpful, YouTube. You know what I mean? It's just not friggin' helpful. And of course, it takes forever to have the chat appear.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you
Say
hear me?
something now.
I'm talking right now. Can you hear me?
Oh, what is going on? Okay, I have my headphones coming in through Bluetooth. Output is the microphone. I mean, input is the microphone. Uh,
You know what? I can see the chat. I'll be able to see the chat like in StreamYard. So I just need to.
okay, when I do echo cancellation, I can hear you.
Okay, so your echo cancellation is probably screwing with StreamYard settings. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I mean that's StreamYard settings.
Oh,
The
okay.
echo cancellation.
So does it sound okay to listen to?
Yeah,
I wonder if it's
yeah, it
just
sounds okay.
interpreting. So like echo. I wonder if it's interpreting like like you have a dead audio signal that it considers like a blank one, nothing in on it, and considering the actual voice one with the voice, the echo. You know what I mean?
Maybe that's
Yeah.
weird.
The audio. Are you on Windows or Mac?
Mac.
See, I don't know the Mac settings quite as well. I barely touch them. If it works anything like Windows, if you have multiple audio devices, there's a sort of sequence they have to line up in for it to work. And Microsoft, every time you
Yeah,
update, will reset one or more of them. You know. Anywho, let's
yeah,
you want to get into it, Jacob?
yeah. Let's do it.
Okay. So first, I guess we'll do a little book discussion. So I've been reading The Great Escape,
Okay.
which is the
Yeah,
true
yeah.
story of the events that led to the movie. Well, that were depicted in the movie The Great Escape, which is a great movie. It's one of my top 10 war movies of all time. Okay, and it's very star-studded cast and all that, right? And it's fairly true to the book in terms of what's depicted in the movie, right? But the book is so much better. Like these guys were geniuses. Like I'm not even halfway through it, right? If you get people can see this, right? Maybe
Yeah.
angle there, no angle there, right? So I'm right. The amount of stuff they would do, like I'll see if I can find a quick passage here to read. No. Uh, well, I'll describe rather than read. So, for example, in the movie, you see them using these like underground, like almost like a rail track system they put in these tunnels, right? And to
Uh huh.
make them, which they don't really depict in the movies, right? They had to take. They discovered that the slats in the bed. You see them using the slats in the beds for the wood. About a third or
Yeah.
fourth of them were made of cedar, which is a much stronger wood. So they were gathering all of that cedar initially, and they would carve it. They would take it. They would slice it into like blocks. They would hand make them into wheels, and then they would make the one slightly larger so it would stick in the track, right? So and they would then
Uh huh.
merge them together. And the tracks they made from these decorative reinforcing beads the Germans put on the huts on the seams, and they were pulling pieces of them down all over the camp. They could leaving enough so a cursory glance would show it looked like it was just like bad work or whatever. And they made the rails of those things. I mean, they made the tools by taking like bits of metal or spare utensils, and they would hand carve them. The actual engineers in the camp, down into like fine working tools and things like that. It's the amount of like detail that these guys are going through for this. It's
Yeah.
you know how they got the uniforms, like the clothes and the uniforms that they made. Did they go into that? and along the way he tells the origin of the various people in the camps. It's just this is an amazing book, and it's an amazing story, obviously. But if you love the movie and you do read books, I would recommend anyone go out there and get this book and read it. So it's by Paul Brickhill. I want to verify something before I say it, so let me just.
Yeah, there was a back when the History Channel was actually History Channel.
Yeah.
There was like a 2 hour special on that, on the Great Escape.
Yeah.
And they went into all that stuff. It's just amazing that they were able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, Brickhill was one of the people. I don't know if he was he in the escape. That's what I'm trying to verify. He was not allowed to take place in the escape. He had claustrophobia, but he was in the camps and working on when they did it, which is all about Stalag Luft 3, and which is I do in my review of Masters of the Air. Like each episode, I sort of give our like information about the military history and stuff going on there, and what began happening is the so there's a difference between the German military and the SS. So people understand, right? The SS were monstrous shitheels who all should have been executed for all the stuff they did, right? The German military was basically a standard military, had good guys and bad guys, and for the most part maintained professionalism, right? So the German military was told to hold on to these prisoners basically because the German / Nazi high command wanted to use them as bargaining tools in even though Hitler didn't think they would ever lose. His high command saw the writing on the wall, right? So they said, well, okay, we may lose not to do a surrender, and we'll use these guys and this is a standard tactic in war. Use the prisoners as a negotiating tool. So they told the German military, keep these guys away from being rescued, And now the SS wanted to interrogate and torture and all that. Again, these are horrible human beings, And so, but the German military, they did for the most part, they did their best to feed these guys with the limited resources they had. They kept them alive. They did not. They did not execute escapees. They brought them back. They weren't into torturing the prisoners. Again, it was a fairly thing. But what kept happening is, as the Allies advanced into Germany, and more prisoners were captured, they kept retreating further and further back and had to build more and more of these camps. And so the prisoners constantly got transported deeper into Germany. Right. And eventually it all winds up with Stalag Luft 3 is one of the bigger ones where the Allied officers were being kept. And eventually, you get the story of the Great Escape happens. It's a really fascinating sort of, I mean, the Great Escape is one part of it. The part of it we saw in Master of the Air is another part of it, the Liberations. And it's a really fascinating study. If you just read, I have articles you can get in my episodes. Well, the episode 8 of Master of the Air review has all the previous links, right? But it's the ones I add, I think, in episode 7 that had the information about the Stalag Luft 3 and all the camps out there. It's a kind of fascinating area.
Yeah, it is.
Hi, Melvin. Welcome to welcome to the show. Melvin has a recommendation here. Let's talk about this show. The Sven Hassel book. So let's see what the Sven Hassel books are. Oh, by the way, and Paul Brickhill, the author of The Great Escape and one of the prisoners, he passed away in 1991. He was born he lived to 74. So,
wow.
Sven Hassel's a Danish-German writer. Okay, let's get him on screen. Let's
one of those prison camps was actually in an old castle, and they actually built a glider in the rafters. Up in the rafters, they built a glider, and actually a couple guys escaped on it.
Well, he tells the story. So the only, by the way, I should have said, this is the Great Escape, but these guys were constantly escaping, digging tunnels, faking being Germans, all sorts of stuff, to get out of these camps. Because the officer at least felt it was their duty to escape. So the Germans, for the most part, were professional about it. You know what I mean? And like there was a story, and I think the chapter before I read where two guys made it to a German airfield, were about to take off in a plane, but just they're walking over to it, the real pilot walked over to the plane and took off. It's like they were that close. You know what I mean? So this is Sven Hassel. He's a Dutch Danish author. He's one of the best-selling Danish authors, possible only at second to Hans Christian Andersen. Okay. Okay, and so apparently there's some controversy with this guy, but he wrote some books. So I might check something out by him. You can read the Wikipedia article. I will link to all these articles eventually. Like when I'm done with the stream today, I'll drop them all into my like the description of the video, along with Jacob's link and all that, right? And I'll put a Paul Hasselbeck one and Great Escape in there too. There we go. And I do have a follow-up book I want to read, which is I think it's called Human Game. It's about the aftermath of the Great Escape. So the movie kind of like it does show that. So what happened in the Great Escape, I think it was 200 plus guys who got out, and most of them were recovered. Some did escape, right, to Sweden or whatever, to LA. But 50 of them, yeah, good trivia there, Melvin. Let me put that on. Okay, 50 of the guys were executed by the SS, and that's the aftermath of the Great Escape, the book I want to read. And the point I'm getting at is one thing about the movie. The movie has tends to have a positive sort of feel to it, like you know what I mean. So they show some guys escaping, some guys getting killed, and all that, but they tend not to show the guys getting killed as victims of mass execution. So that was slight alterations for the movie to give it a less negative feel. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Melvin. Pretty much all of James Clavell's books are good. All of them. There's no, yeah. Melvin's recommending King Rat, so yeah. And now let's get on to another article here, another topic, I should say. So this could be a little lengthier, but we'll. So I'm not going to play the trailer because I'm just, I'm sure they'll all ding me or whatever. How do we turn this off? Okay. So Gladiator was a movie that came out around 15 years ago now. It was one of Ridley Scott's last great movies. Like I think since then he's made one good movie, which is The Martian, maybe two somewhere in there. Let me actually, let's do it this way. Let me call up Ridley Scott. Yeah, in fact, we'll do it over here. Come on, there we go. We'll go to his filmography. So, again, we'll talk about the end of his career, not the beginning of it. So, Black Hawk Down, which in my view is his best picture, and the extended edition is the greatest war film of all time, right? So, we're looking after that point. Now, Kingdom of Heaven, the theatrical version was kind of meh, but the extended director's cut is arguably one of his top 3 movies. Okay, so after that, you can debate American Gangster, a good year. I thought Robin Hood sucked. So Gladiator came out like right before Black Hawk Down, basically. So it's in the period of his greatness when all these early movies, right? So since basically Kingdom of Heaven, right? Was the last great movie was Black Hawk Down. Right. Kingdom of Heaven, really good if you see the extended. Since then, The Martian was borderline great. And everything else has been average at best, to be polite about it. And Jacob, you and I have talked about this before, right? Like a while back.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yep. So Gladiator is a really good movie, really almost a great movie. It Would you agree, Jacob? While it's not while it occurs in historical times, which are depicted roughly accurately, it itself is not historically accurate.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, which is fine. It's not meant to be hardcore historical fiction. I think we agree there. But as a period piece, kind of like Mel Gibson's The Patriot, or you know, just the mood of the times, as it were. You know what I mean? There's other movies like that
Yeah.
it just yeah. So
What's funny is the interviews. Somebody interviewed Russell Crowe, and he's like, "I should really be paid for this movie because I get asked about it so much," and he's not even in it.
yeah, yeah. There's a cameo flashback to Maximus's like a scene from the last movie. Um,
Yeah.
which I'm surprised they don't have to pay him for that, but maybe it was a contract. So we get to Gladiator 2. Now, what are in the era of wokeism and horrible writing? And I pointed out for two reasons. Okay, meaning the danger of wokeism in this is one thing. The danger of horrible writing is another thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the last thing I think I want to what the third thing, but I think the first thing I want to talk about is the atrocious music. I mean, I am, which I thought was only the trailer, right? Did you hear the music? Did you watch the trailer, Jacob?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay, so
I don't know.
uh,
I don't know what they were thinking with
well, I
the
thought that was just
music
a
at the end.
trailer, like I remember some of the Gladiator trailers. You would hear like "We Will Rock You" on it or whatever, but it wasn't in the movie. You know what I mean, right? And it turns out there is like a hip hop score, a track or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like to this movie,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a whole album of hip hop music apparently coming out to it.
Why?
And it's like,
I mean,
go ahead.
let me look up who did the music for
Well, the
the
original was
first.
Hans Zimmer and Lisa. Oh, what was her name? Lisa. I can't remember. And
It's a French name, isn't it?
yeah, and I'm gonna grab from my YouTube playlist a actual Roman music, so you all know what it sounds like. Because being the Italianophile that I am, I have Roman music. You know, I can find my
Yeah.
playlist where YouTube moved them to Roman music.
Lisa
And,
Gerard,
Lisa
Hans
Lisa
Zimmer, and
Gerard or
Klaus
Sherrard. No?
Bennett.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
but appropriate music for the movie.
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay, I want to drop a link to this because this might be a modern song which is similar to Roman music. I want to go through I have like a 40 song playlist. I want to spend the whole stream looking for that. So I want to drop into the chat something that is Roman music sounding, so to speak. To the There you go. And if you want to hear what Roman music sounds like, you could listen to that, right? And the original Gladiator movie kind of was similar enough that you got the theme of it. And I'm not saying like this is it's not a documentary, it's not a strict historical drama, so we do not need Roman music in Gladiator. Um,
No.
don't take the wrong thing out of my comments, right? But to the point of writing and the music sets the mood for what you watch. And
Right.
if you want something to feel like it's in Roman times, you would want, I don't know, Roman sounding music. Is that too crazy, Jacob? It's like,
No. No.
yeah. And I somehow don't think the ancient gladiators were listening to rap while they fought to death. So that will be the first point there.
Yeah, I don't think so. Maybe
Now,
in the hood.
yeah,
If there were
in the hood.
gladiators in the hood.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, in the ghetto part of Rome, right? That didn't exist,
Yeah.
Now, we've not seen enough of this to know if they wokeified it in any way. Okay, so it's only one little trailer. So I'm just going to comment about, and we haven't seen enough to know if the writing is bad, but I suspect the writing might have some problems to it. Okay, but we need more to see to be able to make that assessment. So I'm going to address diversity issues in the Roman Empire, and I hate to say it the way I say it, but I do it. I'm addressing the woke response to this, right? And I am not a historian. I I had a Jesuit education, which is a classical education. 3 years of Latin, 1 year of Greek, a lot of history associated with that. So between that and my interests, I've just picked up a lot of stuff. And obviously, I'm Italian and proud of my ancestry. You know,
Yeah.
so let's start with what and there's this phenomenon called the blackening and brown, like what is it called, brown, uh, uh,
Brown washing.
blackwashing, right? Blackwashing and
Blackwashing.
brownwashing
Yeah.
of history, right? Well, that Cleopatra
Right.
movie, yeah. So,
Or
what are
the
there black and brown people in Rome? Okay,
Viking chieftain, female, black woman.
yeah, yep. And they ignore the actual example of a actual brown person in Rome, Ahmad ibn Falad, the Muslim scholar who traveled to not to Rome, to the Viking lands, to Viking lands in
Right.
history, and that Michael Crichton, of course, based Ease of the Dead / the 13th Warrior on. Yeah. So they had to make up a colored person, a black person there, instead of using a real colored person that was there. Right? It's crazy. But anyway, so were there black and yes, were there a lot of non Caucasian white people in the Roman Empire? If you only in the sense that Rome conquered a lot of land, so there's probably, I would say, 30-40% of the ultimate population was, given they conquered well into North Africa and the Middle East, right? Now,
Right.
so it would be perfectly understandable to see wealthy or wealthy citizens of the empire who happen to be brown skinned or black, because that's the way it worked, you know. And likewise, the same thing with the slaves and all that. So there's no one's gonna. So that's kind of where it stands, right? Now,
Right.
the issue of the character that Denzel Washington is playing, okay, his Macrinus. If I'm presuming this is the same as the historic Macrinus. So who was Macrinus? Macrinus was the emperor of Rome for about 14 months after, can't remember the guy's name. I want to say his name is like Coachella, but it's not Coachella. It's like, or Caracalla or something like that. One of his 3 names is that, right? But it's been a while since I read all the details. Okay, and Rome, like the the Roman Empire was not a direct hereditary. The emperorship was not directly hereditary. It tended to be people in similar related families, but it wasn't always like father the son or father the daughter or whatever like that. You know, so and that was the precedent established there when Augustus Caesar, the first emperor of Rome, who was the adopted nephew and godson of Julius Caesar, he followed that model when he chose his heir, so to speak, right? And
Right.
and the other model that's important is that the two great triumvirates, that Caesar, Pompey, and Crassus or Casus was the first great triumvirate, and they had a lot of, each one of those guys had vast military, economic, and political force people united under them, and they grouped together to form what was the de facto leadership of Rome at the time. And then Augustus Caesar, and because Julius married, was it Pompey's daughter or Crassus? He married the daughter of one of the other triumvirates, and sort of inherited his stuff and stuff, basically all his political and economic power. And then Augustus Caesar inherited all of that, right? And then his triumvirate was him, Mark Antony, and someone else. I don't remember the third guy, his triumvirate. And again, that was the ruling junta of the empire that took over the empire, right? And that model is what the Roman Empire followed for the emperors. They would have their power, their political and economic and military power, that they would use directly to run the empire, right? And so Macrinus, he was born in what is called Mauritania, which is in northern Africa, the Kingdom of Mauritania. Let's which yeah, okay. Well, I'll show you guys where that is. I know I spelled it wrong. Maps. So this is Mauritania. Ancient Mauritania was much bigger. It was actually it was closer to what I'm circling on the map, right? There's actually an interesting an interesting artifact there. I can't, but it's a whole side's argument. But anyway, so ancient Mauritania was much bigger, and Macrinus was born there to I believe it was a rich family, um, something to do with horses. I don't remember what exactly, and maybe they sold horses to rich people or something like that, right? And so they were not born noble, but they were born. He was born into a wealthy upper class who was associated with nobility type of thing, right? And
Yeah.
I think he became a lawyer or something like that in ancient Rome, and and plus he served in the legions and all that, and that was his path to rise to power, right? And he became the Roman Empire, like who I mentioned before, who is Caracalla or whatever that guy's name is, right? I don't remember the guy's name, and he was one of his people. Okay, so that is the setup that if this movie, he's the Macrinus. If Denzel is the Macrinus of history, that's the setup for this movie. Why he's doing what he's doing. Okay, and so what happened is this: at some point, the emperor decided that Macrinus, rather than being one of his people and an aid to his power, was an enemy who had to be eliminated. So conflict happened between the emperor and Macrinus, and it was a matter of who killed who first at that point. So Macrinus set in motion that he got the emperor killed, basically, first before the emperor could kill him, and then in the bout, he became then in the next vacuum of power, well, who will be the next emperor? Because that previous emperor didn't have an established heir. Macrinus basically was declared emperor. Okay, and it took from the point of death. Is that son, Jacob?
Huh?
Did you had a question or something?
Oh no, huh? I was just saying, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it was about a week, I think, or less than a week that Macrinus got appointed emperor. Like it was that it was verified that it was certified by the Senate or whatever it was. And again, don't quote me for the details. You can go. I'm just doing it off of memory here.
He
Um,
he was black.
well, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So I just want to establish who Macrinus was and the political stuff going on before I get to the ethnicity of Macrinus, right? Um, and so he was emperor for 14 months, and the mistake he made was rather than consolidate and absorb the previous emperor's power base into his own, right? He didn't trust them, so he started killing them and pushing them out of power. Started undo like they'd done a bunch of laws passed that was giving money to the Roman troops to basically bribe them, right? And when he withdrew that, the troops started turning against him, and basically he made a lot of mistakes in politics, right? At some point, he declares his 10-year-old son or 12-year-old son his heir, and then I think briefly that kid became emperor. There's some I don't remember the whole details of that, but he for 14 months he was the emperor, and it did not end well. The rival forces of other candidates got his son and executed his son, then got him and executed him. Right. So that and he's famous because or infamous. He is I think the only Roman emperor who during his period of being an emperor never actually went to Rome. Right. He was busy in the Libyan campaign in Africa. Okay. Now, any other details to give historically before I talk about his ethnicity? No. Okay. So now, who was he ethnically? Right. So he was born in a town in Mauritania. I don't remember the name.
So Mauritania was a basically the Roman Empire controlled it, right?
Yes. Rome conquered quite a bit of North Africa, basically up to
Yeah.
like the Sahara Desert's over here. Let's say, roughly speaking, right? They conquered basically to the Sahara Desert. Okay. Um, so uh, again, keeping it simple for those listening, not to go, I don't want to go crazy about exactly where the border was, right? You know, um, and
Yeah.
uh, so he was a more this town of Mauritania was large. The main people there were called the Berbers, right? Now, what is a
Mhm.
Berber? Berbers are of in the modern day. The Berbers are one of the ancestral groups of the people we call Arabs. Okay, and
Yeah.
they were not Caucasians. They were of the sort of Middle Eastern, could be white, could be brown, could be very dark colored. That type of people, right? In terms of their skin color. Um, he okay, so he okay, based on what I remember of historical evidence, because the Romans, here's another thing. The Romans, like most ancients, didn't care about skin color. Race to them meant the same as ethnicity, right? So, like
Yeah.
the master race was those of Roman blood, if you know what I mean, not people who were look different than them, right? So, uh, so based on what I recall of the historical evidence, which I'm not a historian. I just read some of this stuff over the years. All indications are that he would have been like a light skinned brown person type of thing, right? How for I
Right.
look pasty white, but if I were in the sun, I would turn moderately brown because I'm Sicilian. He would have looked something like what I might have looked with a different without my feature set, which is like mainland Italian, more like a Middle Eastern person would have looked. So now, it's theoretically possible because there were Berbers who had full, almost black skin because the Berbers were a mix of Arabs and black, basically, sub-Saharan, what are called sub-Saharan Africans. It is hypothetically possible that Macrinus could have been black, right, like darker black skin. It is unlikely that he was, right. So, and this is in terms of history. Now, I'm not complaining that Denzel Washington is playing this character. Okay, I'm only bringing this up because of something I call woke derangement syndrome, where people look at like anything like this now and immediately go crazy and act like the woke people and say, "Well, now we have to have only people of this particular Caucasian culture playing this particular people," and without examining the nature of the character and who could play them or not. I could care less if they got a Chinese guy playing him because if this is not a historically accurate movie, I'm not looking for historical accuracy. If this were a documentary, sure, you'd want a guy of that type of descent. You know what I mean? But like the Cleopatra, that's a
Yeah.
historical documentary series, not a movie like Gladiator 1 or 2. So
Right.
yeah. And so that's now. I mean, do you think? What do you have any other impressions from the trailer, Jacob?
Not really. I mean, it doesn't look good to me, but I mean,
Well,
it didn't
I thought
bother it didn't bother me. Denzel's playing this character
yeah.
or
No, I didn't
person.
think it would. I'm saying for my audience, I want to make sure we get out there that the nature of this Macrinus character before people think the wrong things.
Yeah.
Um, I thought
And
the
two,
Gladiator. Go ahead.
they also do this. They think, well, if it's a Roman guy in Africa, well, he's black. Not necessarily. They could have the people stationed there that are not that are Italian,
Mm-hmm.
blood. So that's another thing they get off on.
Well, there's a whole group of people who think that the Romans were actually black, and there's a
Yeah.
whole
No,
like
they weren't.
like uh Metatron loves exploring his history TikToks where they try to make these claims,
Yeah.
or you know, but so my thoughts, trail. I thought the gladiator action itself looked pretty good, right?
Yeah, it
And
did.
the actors, go on.
Yeah, the I thought the flooded arena looked really good.
Yeah, and so I have no real problem with that. what worries me, and this is the writing part of it, is like, why are we tying this story to the original Gladiator when it has no real connection to it other than a
Yeah.
Gladiator rebellion? Like, why not just make it about another Gladiator 50 years later or whatever? Like, because gladiators
Right.
did rise to prominence. You could fight your way to freedom and become a prominent citizen as a gladiator. So,
Hmm.
but I feel that the writing, an attempt to link it even perfectly to the previous story, is going to hurt it. Uh, I like the line where Macrinus goes, "What do you want?" And he goes, all the Roman generals or whatever, and he goes, "Too much." I like that line because Macrinus wants the empire for himself. So
Hmm.
uh, I I, I kind of like that line, um, but I just feel tying it even peripherally to the original movie and just doing another Rebel Gladiator, like there's no creativity to it. Seems like they're just trying to repeat the first story in a different movie. That's my impression.
Yeah.
Okay, so I
Got the
think
main baddie.
yeah,
It's the same. I mean, you
same
got the
bad
main
guys. The,
bad
the
guy.
Emperor's the bad
Oh,
guy
I'm gonna
again.
fight this guy.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's
and this would have been that Emperor. Let me get his instead of plowing my mental way through this. Let's actually get this guy's name because it's going to drive me crazy. I
they
keep
actually are built. Actually rebuilt the set of the Colosseum too. That's impressive.
Yeah. Oh, here's history for you. The Romans invented concrete. The Roman Colosseum is made of Roman concrete, which is one of the reasons it lasted so long. So
Right.
and they, like you see in the video, they show the Roman Colosseum overhead with the stanchions that what they could extend the roof on. They still don't know how the Romans did that today. Made that extensible roof. Yeah. So
Wow.
born in Caesarea in the Roman province of Mauritania, Caesarianus. Now, and not to get political, but one of the things the Romans did every place they went is like if the Romans conquered Springfield, Ohio, they'd rename it something Roman just to stamp their presence on it, right? You know,
Right.
um, which is why to get political on this, why Palestine has its name and why the Jews are the original Palestinians, because when they conquered the Middle East, right, they wanted to rename it, and they said, wait, what do we call that land where the Jews live? Let's call it Palestine. So that's you
Yeah.
know, you know. But okay, so here, Macrinus served under Emperor Caracalla, okay, and Caracalla's full name was Marcus Aurelius Antonius, okay, born Lucius Septimus Bassanus, okay, and his nickname was Caracalla, not Coachella, as I have said several times, which is or today what else? I call him something else funny too. Okay? And he was an emperor from 198 to 718 AD. Okay, so there we go. So we got that. That's I mean, I think that's all uh oh, look at that. June 8th. That's my cousin / little sister's birthday. June 8th. That's funny. Um anyway, Macrinus'
And
death
he
day.
looks white because he's
Um
white marble.
well, yeah, obviously white marble, but
I
there
know.
are other
I'm
art.
kidding.
No, I know you're kidding. I'm just saying it's funny. It is funny, like but he has northern Mediterranean features in the bust, like the puffier nose, you know,
Yeah.
the shape of the eyes and all that, and there are other depictions of him, which if I well, we've said everything we say about it. Metatron has done. We'll eventually do videos about this and give you all historical sources. So that's that. So I don't want to make the whole show about this.
Yeah.
It's like 45 minutes. So let's go on to our next topic, which is unfortunately is about the Crapolite. Now, we talked about
Yes.
two things on that show last night that were driving conversation. All right. Well, not two things, but so one thing we talked. Well, no, we talked one thing in the show in general, and another thing on the show last night. So we'll get to the one in general first, right? So this was the whole. So in the actual Star Wars lore, which is what it was under Lucas before Disney destroyed it, Anakin Skywalker was created by the Force, not to save the Jedi, as some people commonly misinterpret, but to bring balance to the Force, which is the universal living sides of the Force, that the Sith, which is Darth Plagueis and Darth Sidious, had driven into imbalance, right? And he was the only person at the time ever to be manifested directly by the Force, right?
Right.
Now we have the twins, and her comments are, she says, so let's find her comment. However, according to Headland, said backlash is not only in place, but based on a complete misunderstanding of our writing. He's trying to say it's not, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what it is. We misinterpreted her bad writing.
Yeah. So, pressed by Walsh as to why, as revealed in the episode, May and Osha being two halves of one consciousness would make them stronger and not weaker, Headland asserted. I think it's both. The girls are guinea pigs. They're patient zero for this sort of power. It didn't work perfectly, therefore the girls on their own could never be as powerful as Anakin. Their full potential together has yet to be explored. They've been separated too long. So she was trying to write a story about the Force experimenting first with this sort of thing, right? Well, about this sort of, but see, here's the thing. The problem with that is she doesn't understand. These two girls were created by, Mama, right? By using the virgins.
Yeah, right.
Anakin was created by the Force itself. There was no one involved other than Shmi being impregnated by the Force, basically. Yeah. And so they can't be the precursor to Anakin because they weren't created by the Force. And here, it's like when you're doing experiment in the first round of it, they're maybe not the first one, the first experiment of this particular kind of power. So I think she's one of those fans who don't understand that Sidious was BSing when he implied Plagueis created Anakin. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Continuing,
Headland admitted, so the twins are weaker than Anakin for sure. They're going to fall short of what will eventually become the chosen one. They will never achieve what that is because, in my mind, Anastasia can only do so much. I guess that's the merged person. Well, no, Anastasia is the mother. She's not powerful enough to create one person. That's exactly. She is. She's anyway. The twins split. Anastasia's power split, and therefore, a lot of our philosophy is about the power of two. And in fact, they must stay together. The twins are stronger if she keeps them together. And obviously, there's knowledge of this, of the isolation feeling out of the coven, but also the family. If I can keep you safe, then you won't get hurt. You won't get hurt. I can't stand our writing. Is like you said, bad writing. That you know what I mean?
Yeah. To say we're focusing on the wrong aspect. There's so many bad aspects to this show.
Oh yeah. I just for defending her creative choice, Helen, if anything we know about the fifth in Sith in sequels or prequels, I don't know what the fifth means, but one of the things you know about them is their quest for these abilities, like we're seeing Anastasia being able to execute the twins. She seems to be hearkening on the whole that Anakin was created by Plagueis, which he wasn't. So anyway, so there's more of her messing with Star Wars lore and not understanding it. With comments.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Dempsey, welcome to the show. Yeah. One more acolyte discussion there, Dempsey. So this is the black stuff, right? This is one of the funniest freeze frames you will ever see.
Gosh.
By the way, if you want more narrativisms, right? So on this one's forehead is a swirl. The Uzumaki symbol is kind of a swirl. That's Naruto. And on this one, the one who is angry, likes to hit things, and aggressive, she has a diamond shape on her forehead. The only way they can make a bigger Tsunade ripoff is if she also healed people. So,
I guess I haven't gotten to that character yet in the show.
Tsunade?
Yeah.
Where are you?
Episode 70, I think.
70?
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't find a filler guy, did you?
No, it doesn't bother me. I'm just going through it.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's fine. But remember, Naruto filler doesn't count towards story, right? You know what I mean? The plot. So
Yeah.
did you
Right.
did you get through the tuning exams?
Yeah, just finished that. Yeah.
Did you get through the invasion?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Or just to the point after the invasion where they've gotten control of the city back.
Okay, if I ask this question,
Or
I
detail.
don't want to spoil it for you. I'll just ask a question. Have any major characters died yet?
Not yet.
Are you sure?
Yes, the Okage guy.
Oh, so that tells me where you are. So after that arc, right, is a whole bunch of filler, right? So then the
Right.
next arc is called the Tsunade retrieval arc, and that's when you will start encountering Tsunade.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there's one more arc in Naruto before the time skip, which is called well, it's after that. I won't say what it's called because it spoils it. And then there's like one episode or two episodes after that before the time skip. And there's 200 and something episodes of Naruto, and the time skip in the manga is one manga. He just time skipped. In the anime, there's Naruto and now Shippuden, okay, which is the anime after the time skip. And there's a lot more filler in Shippuden, so you may want to find a guide, bro. It's like you may want to find it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Send
Yeah.
me one.
Yeah, I'll look around because like did some of the Shippuden filler, like especially when I won't spoil it, but when you watch it, and then you like before that, there's a filler arc where they're sent to discover a dude who has a rare Kenkai Genkai, which basically means he can mentally make nuclear bombs and blow up cities, right? And you say to yourself,
Oh, that's
you know,
nice.
that might have been useful with this event that's occurring in the actual story, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so you're going to hit the Tsunade arc, and a lot of fans, the Tsunade retrieval arc is their favorite of the early Naruto pre-time skip stuff. You know, there's a lot, especially if you go when you go back and watch it the second time or reread it after having read the whole thing, and maybe you learn about some of the events in the light novels that are written after the end of the series, which fill in time gaps. There's a lot more meaning to several of the early arcs, but particularly Tsunade one. But that's all I'll say. You know,
Okay.
and Tsunade is a lot of people's favorite character too, by the way. You know, okay, so anyway, so we'll talk about here on the Acolyte. Melvin, I'm just checking the chat. Okay, yeah, they're doing one. They think of the Force like a 200-foot Twinkie. That's a big Twinkie. That's a Ghostbusters reference, people. So this black smoke form, right?
Were they trying to copy the Mummy?
Well, I think actually the first thing I thought about it, and that's funny though. Do you remember the movie The Chronicles of Riddick?
Yeah.
The Lord Marshal's power.
Uh-huh.
You know that weird shadowy teleportation thing. That is
Right.
Now, Dempsey, I said last night that if episode 8 of The Acolyte has a giant fox with 9 tails in it, they've pretty much confirmed it all. You know, if out of nowhere, like Darth Asshole rides up on a giant fox, fox with 9 tails, you pretty much, you know. But it would be a space fox, so maybe it'll have wings or something or 2 heads. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
But anyway, so she's saying, according to Headland, that the bizarre black smoke cloud form taken. Am I sharing this one? Yeah. Okay. By Mother Anasea and was all her literally transforming herself and transforming him into the Force.
What? So that's what happened to all the witches. They just went into the Force.
Yeah.
They all fainted.
It makes no sense. I mean, it just makes no sense. Like Sammy called it Kamui. Uh, can I even explain what Kamui is without spoiling Naruto for you? Uh, I can't. But it's a power in Naruto. I'll just leave it vague like that, But it does kind of remind you of an example when you see it later. But it's like,
Yes. What Dempsey's saying. Dempsey. Sorry. Said it.
we seal the
Nine-tailed
power of
crate
the
dragon.
crate dragon. Or is it?
A nine-tailed crate dragon.
Yeah. The nine-tailed crate dragon, capable of toppling whole piles of sand with its tails. you know, it 12 years ago, a nine-tailed crate dragon attacked the village hidden in the sands of Tatooine. It's like, and what can we call him? And he faced he faced the fourth night sister of Dathomir, who sealed it into a force-generated child. It's like, okay.
Sure.
Yeah, man. It's such a ripple, and you don't even know it because you haven't watched it all yet. Like when you get to some, like if you think back, when you get to like, well, there's an episode called "The Fourth Hokage's Deathmatch." So that's nothing about the Shippuden titles. The Shippuden episode titles tend to be somewhat spoilery of the events they contain. Just bear that in mind. That's just the way they are, right? But when you get there, you're going to watch it and say, "Wait a minute, this dialogue sounds familiar," because you've seen it first in the acolyte.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. So we got the crap light out. So let's go on one negative topic, and that. So for those who don't know, Crunchyroll is a place where you can. It's a streaming service for anime, and for the most part, over the years, it's been pretty good. Now, there was a big controversy. Oh God, yeah, Dungeons can go. I've been training with these weighted ankle and wrist Cartmans. That there's a big controversy with anime with what are called localizers, who in like America and Europe are wokeifying the translations, right? And to the point they're actually changing the original storyline in the manga and the anime. And the Japanese are up in arms about this, right? The Japanese company, the Japanese people, have you been following that to any degree, Jacob?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, well, that is the thing, right?
I heard something.
Yeah.
I heard something about it. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah. So this says Sony owned Crunchyroll disabled comment in order to reduce harmful content and prevent misinformation. Well, the reason they're actually doing this, in my opinion, is because they want to stop the people complaining about the mistranslations. That's my opinion. But I'm fairly sure it's accurate.
Oh, the thing I heard was about the what is it? The Assassin's Creed Japanese version, with the black guy.
Yeah, Yasuke. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's an example of blackwashing of history, where Yasuke was a legitimate black guy in Japan. He was a friend of. So this ties into historically. This ties into Shogun, right? Do you remember how Mariko's father assassinated someone, and that's why the family got dishonored? Do you remember that bit?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So that guy was Oda Nobunaga, who I believe was the last guy that Taiko, who was Toranaga's mentor, defeated to become the Taiko, to unify Japan, right? And and Yasuke was his friend. Okay, now had he lived and retained his power, Yasuke might eventually have been declared to be a samurai by him. Okay, but Yasuke, based on all historical evidence, never actually was declared to be a samurai at all.
Right.
Yeah. So that's kind of the controversy was in Assassin's Creed Japan or whatever it's called. They'd made Yasuke an actual samurai. So that's the big controversy. And the Japanese are up in arms about it. They just don't want to, not because he's a black samurai, but because he
I don't
wasn't
blame
made.
him.
Yeah, yep. And they have historical records of samurais, like that you would have been described in certain roles. They still have some of that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what this Crunchyroll, and now the Crunchyroll thing. Like I said, I think this is solely because the comments are filling up about the complaints over the woke localization, and they want to suppress that. Good luck with doing that on forums, but
Yeah. Have you? I mean, I think about it in like the Scottish culture or something. They take some guy and say, "Hey, this guy was black," when he really wasn't a black guy.
yeah,
I mean, I understand why they were up in arms about it.
mm-hmm. Totally, yeah. And and I just discussed the whole McCriny situation about his rate, his ethnicity, and all that. So
Yeah. Uh-huh.
yeah. Next topic is an interesting one for a different reason. So I have two articles here. Basically, Paramount has been sold to Skydance Media for $8 billion. So,
Whoa.
yeah. Now, obviously, this has to go through approvals. Yeah, Dempsey had a good comment here. So, vocalization. I haven't heard anyone call it that, Dempsey. So you might want to trademark that term. Well, unfortunately, Dempsey, the Disney has the rights to Bleach, so it kind of, you know, yeah. Anyway, back to the article. So what, Jack? You gonna say something?
Yeah. So we could get some possibly good Star Trek.
Well, that's what I was getting to, right? So prior to what happened that messed Star Trek up was not just that J.J. Abrams got involved or whatever. It's that basically years and years ago, Paramount, CBS, Paramount, Viacom, there was this mega company back through the 70s, right? And it had TV division, which was CBS Studios, movie division, which was Paramount Studios, and so on and so forth. I actually, some of my earliest videos I did I think a long video or 2-part video on the whole history of the Paramount mergers and separations over the years, right? So the audio sucks, but the facts information is good. And what happened is when they separated the company the first time, they wanted to put the movies in one company and the TV shows in another. But this is after they started making Star Trek movies. Okay. So they had to split the Star Trek IP up into 2 parts. Now, and the reason they did this wasn't so much that was because movie merchandising made a lot more than TV show merchandising at the time. Okay. So
Okay.
that's kind of why they split Star Trek the way they did, where Viacom got the movie rights and Paramount got the TV rights, or vice versa, whatever it was at the time. Right? And and for them to introduce any new Star Trek at the time, they had to have agreement and approval, right? And that is one of the reasons the uniforms in the movie changed to those like more militaristic looking uniforms in Star Trek 2 and forward, 2 through 6, was there was debate with the TV show people who went with a uniform with the next generation that looked more like the original ones over what the uniform should be. So they just went their own course on that, And fast forward to the 90s when there was a reemergence of the properties, okay? And then fast forward to the early 2000s when they were split up, but in a different way. Again, and part of that is because Sherry Redstone's father, Summer, hated Star Trek, so he didn't care he didn't care about making money for it or anything. So he just didn't care about it at all. Right now, when Sherry took over everything, which was after this, like in the late 2000s, like 2007, 2008, whether she liked Star Trek or not, she recognized you could make a lot of money for it with it. So she wanted to actually make money with the products, regardless of her personal likes or dislikes. So she started trying. And ultimately that's when they got the deal that let the J.J. Abrams and then the Kurtzy having control of the Star Trek that we see now. You know what I mean? Where Abrams' team has the movies and had the movies, and Kurtz's team had the TV shows, right? And those contracts, well, the Abrams one expired. The Kurtzy one still is in effect until almost like it's ending now. That's why they're canceling all these Star Trek shows now, and they remerged, however. So when they remerged, and Sherry Redfield was like, "We're not making any more new Star Trek. Like what you got incoming is that's it. We want now. We're going to remerge it all and refarm it out as one product, basically now." So that's kind of that and that upset the Kurtzy team, a lot. That they thought they were doing great Star Trek, which they're not. So going forward, it's one product. It's being made by Skydance will own it, and I'm hoping because the rumor was that Kurtzy and Orzi and that team they had already been told that they're out by by Skydance. So
cool.
Yeah, that rumor dropped about 6 days ago. Now,
good.
Whether that give us good Star Trek or not, who knows, right?
Right.
But it's the first chance to have good Star Trek in a long time. And I don't know about you, Jacob, but at this point,
so what would you want in a new Star Trek?
I would reboot the
what
whole
direction
damn
would
thing.
You want to go?
I would reboot the whole damn thing, and I would make either a continuation of the original 5-year mission or a second 5-year mission of the original Enterprise. I would, but I would prefer, honestly, it's probably better to do a complete reboot TV show of the original Star Trek, so you can set it in that original era of the original TOS, which was a more of a wild frontier era in Star Trek history. You can have your Kirk and your Spock and whatever. You can you can retro the ship to look enough like it would in the 1960s, but update to a modern aesthetic so it does look its own era. You know what I mean? Like how they did. You know how we're talking in Alien. Remember how they had made Alien look old and new at the same time? Right. They can do that with this Star Trek. Have enough retro in it so it still has that sort of 1960s sci-fi feel, but have modern looking stuff with as well. You know what I mean? So yeah. Now Dempsey has a comment. What is it? There you go. I would not do a shot for shot remake because I would reuse a bunch of those classic scripts for sure. I mean, there's no need to ever remake like some of the stuff from season 3 of Star Trek TOS, like the Space Hippies episode, for example. But
the Space Hippies.
Yeah, but my favorite Star Trek episodes, like Balance of Terror, is I mean, it's one of my 5 favorite episodes. For sure, it's arguably the best Star Trek episode of all time. At best, it's arguably the best Star Trek thing of all time. Like I personally think Balance of Terror is better than any of the Star Trek movies, and that's saying something. So you could I've always thought, by the way, that if you were making Star Trek movies, reusing some of those TOS scripts like Balance of Terror or the Doomsday Machine, a couple others like A Taste of Armageddon. Is it Taste of Armageddon? No, not well. That would be good too. That's the one where they had they go to the planet and these two planets are at war for like hundreds of years, but it seems well loved and peaceful. It turns out they're having computer simulation war, and they're just mass executing their citizens who are victims of the simulated strikes. Yeah, that could be a good movie too. A less action, more drama oriented one if you want to Star Trek that way. Or well, there's a bunch of them, but especially Balance of Terror and Doomsday Machine could be really great movies, right? But I would do I would do the TV show. I'd reuse a bunch of those scripts and make some new scripts up, and you could you could play with the lore a bit too. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to follow the original lore exactly in terms of who all the aliens are. You know,
I mean,
but
and you do have so much you can work with too.
oh
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
you
that's
can do it. You can do it with what you're saying, but also do a next generation era. You could do uh, the beginning of the uh, Starfleet era.
well, yeah. But the first thing you would do would be a original series redo.
Yes, set the groundwork.
Yeah,
Set the groundwork with that original series, and move on from there.
yeah, yeah. So, but I think Skydance so far is a step in a positive direction.
Yeah,
Modern day casting. Hmm. Who could we cast? I don't know if I could do person for person. I mean, you know who? Bones? Chris Pratt. Because
really.
Bones has a sense of humor. Chris Pratt can do also. He can do sarcastic sense of humor. Um, so I could see that. Could see that working. He does. He can be. He plays angry decently well. You know. Kirk. Kirk. Well, Liam Hemsworth already played Kirk's dad, so he can't play Kirk, right? So, not Chris Hemsworth, rather. Chris Hemsworth played his dad. You know.
Yeah,
I mean, Kirk is an action hero who with a brain. You know, I mean, Hemsworth is the first guy who comes to mind for that role. You know, he's if you haven't seen Extraction 1 and 2, which are better than like every Marvel movie in my opinion, they're made by the same guy who did Civil War. Um, Hemsworth is an
yeah,
amazing like thinking man's action star. You know, uh,
yeah. He is.
I mean casting. You know, I liked a lot of the casting in the Abrams movie. I just didn't like the depiction of some of the characters. You know,
Yeah, me either.
I'd have to really think like TV shows. What do I watch on TV?
Yeah, it would have if they're doing if it's a series, it would have to be. I don't think they're going to get actors like Chris Pratt and Hemsworth.
Well, you never know because nowadays actors want these roles. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like they see these roles. I mean, who would have thought Chris Pratt would want to be in an Amazon TV show? But he's the reason that Terminal List was done. You know what I mean? He wants to do it. You know.
yeah. What has the latest one come out? I can't remember.
They're making the next season of the Terminal List around around Pratt's movies.
Oh,
Yeah, I think there are 5 books, so there's 5 seasons worth of content basically.
ah,
I mean, I guess you can only stretch out a terminal illness so long, right?
yeah, right.
Yeah, they just hired a whole bunch of pro Dempsey. Doesn't hire a whole bunch of pro Lessers to be the new like Vulcan, the new Vulcans. You know,
Yeah,
Triple H is a Vulcan. You know, you have Triple H fighting like some other wrestler as Spock when they're having the Pon-Farr fight or whatever. You know, it's like Triple H is Spock. He goes, Captain, it's time to play the game. That's Triple H's thing. You know, he's the game, and his theme song is actually one of the better theme songs. It's time to play the game. You know, by Motorhead. Um, man, I have images now of certain pro wrestlers playing certain characters. It's like anyway.
that'd be fun.
So that's Skydance is good news. My next thing, we have 2 deaths I'd like to talk about. One a lot of people have heard of. The other one maybe not so much, but significant character. Let's talk about Shelley Duvall first. So this is a sort of summary article from Dark Horizon, which is a pretty good website. You know, talk about her in general, her passing away, right? But let's get our Wikipedia. So most fans are going to know her from The Shining and from Popeye. Right? So that, I mean, but let's do her filmography and talk about some of her works. So I've seen a bunch of these movies. Annie Hall, she was in Annie Hall. That's a what's his Woody Allen movie. She was in Time Bandits. Those who don't know that, she was in Time Bandits.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. She was in Suburban Commando. That's a Hulk Hogan movie. And funny enough, she did like what, about 20 movies there. Yeah, Popeye and The Shining came out in the same year. Look at this, people. That I did not remember. And that Popeye, I don't think it did very well. At one point, I was a gigantic Popeye fan. Like, I still have a whole bunch of Popeye stuff in storage, right? That movie is a fairly good adaptation of Popeye. If you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. Now, let's look at our TV show work, which is probably much longer, as we can. Oh, no, it looks like she was a selective actress, which is good, I remember the Shelley Duvall's bedtime stories. I remember that. Yeah. Yeah. So she's had a bunch of stuff. I mean, that she's been in. I probably have seen all of her TV shows appearances, like even the ones the show I barely watched. But she was a well liked and accomplished actress. She lived until how old was she? She made 75, which is a nice age, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And she'll be missed. Her work and everything.
Yeah.
Now, although let's check. So we'll go to Popeye for a second. Let's look at the cast of Popeye briefly. So Robin Williams, obviously, right, and Shelley Duvall. Paul L. Smith was Bluto. He's been in. Now, this is the role by he was Falcon in Red Sonja. That much, and he was Raban in the original Dune. That's what I wanted to get because we talked about Robin Williams and Shelley Duvall. Paul Smith, who is still alive, had some other roles in the genre that people might find interesting. Yeah. Funny enough, his filmography was longer than theirs. Gore, I remember Terminal Entry. Yeah, I've seen a bunch of his movies. And of course, Paul Dooley is Wimpy, right? And Ray Walston was Poop Deck Pappy. My favorite Martian and To Sir with Love. And Picket Fence. He was the judge on Picket Fences in the 90s. Now, one other death. Do you have anything else about Shelley Duvall before we move on there?
No.
So one other death that happened about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. His name is Russell Morash. Now, if you're not a DIY person, do it yourself, or you don't watch a lot of PBS, you have no idea who this guy is. Okay. He was back when PBS was good, before it became woke government trash, right? Russell Morris was a PBS producer, and he produced some of the longest running and most remembered TV shows, created them. The French Chef, everyone knows who Julia Childs is if you know cooking, right? He made that show. Yeah. The Victory Garden. Most importantly, This Old House. He was the guy who invented This Old House. And Ray Morash, Bob Vila, and Norm Abrams, the two stars of the original House, are probably the three, this giant do-it-yourself industry that's in the U.S., right? These are probably the three guys most responsible for that industry. Okay. because because of the creation of this old house and the popularity of it. So he passed away on June 19th, and he was a Titan. In the good era of PBS, he was a Titan. Yeah.
Huh.
And the point is, I think you're a little younger than me, Jacob, but I guess you might start to think about this too. But you start to think about your mortality as you get older and older, and
Yeah.
like I'm seeing these people ahead of me in the line pass away, and it's like, do you remember do you ever see the Simpsons monorail episode?
I don't know.
So it was an episode of The Simpsons, right? An animated TV show, if people have ever seen it. And back when The Simpsons was good, they did an episode where a con man sold them a monorail kit. A monorail is a train. And so they made this giant train. And the episode was funny. But at the end of the episode, Marge is doing narration, and she goes, "And that's not the first time that Springfield fell for one of these things. And there was this, and when we made the mile-high escalator to nowhere." And at the very end of the scene, you see this escalator with people going up it, right? And then it's dropping off the end of the escalator. And going, ah! And that went to credits with that sound playing, right? And then went to screen is black. And since then, and I think I was like 20 when I saw this episode, that's how I've begun to think of death, life and death. We're all on that mile escalator to nowhere, and eventually we're going to come off the edge. It's like it's our turn. And like I see Shelley Duvall or Russell Morash or any others who have been dying ahead of me, and they're going, and we're moving up that ladder, and you just begin to kind of feel it after a while, like how much, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which not to say I'm going to die tomorrow or you're going to die tomorrow, but the whole mortality thing, man. Dempsey, if you ever want to watch The Simpsons, the first 15 Halloween episodes, right? The Treehouse of Terror, the first 15 of them are great. The episode about the monorail, the episode about Mr. Burns' baseball team is great. Those there's a couple others, but if there's like 20 episodes you want to watch the first 15 Treehouse of Horror, watch the monorail episode, and watch Snake Day, the one with Snake Day in Springfield. It's not the title of it, but if you Google that, you would find it, and watch the episode with Mr. Burns made a baseball team. And also another good, one last great one was when the James Bond parody episode. Oh, okay, that was loud. So that's your Simpsons recommendation. And maybe next week I'll be more specific about that, or maybe I'll do a video recommending some episodes of The Simpsons, because the first 20 seasons it was really there's a lot of great stuff in there. The first 15 seasons. After season 15, it starts to get stale, and then it gets woke. Those are my prepared topics. Before I do some rando topics, Jacob, just before the end, like I usually do, do you have anything you want to discuss?
Well, I did hear. We don't have to go too far into it, but I did hear in the Deadpool Wolverine, we're gonna get a Wolverine Hulk fight.
Ooh. Well, that could be great, or that could suck.
Might be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So, did you ever read any of the fights in the comics?
No, I haven't.
So there are two. I mean, like everyone fights the Hulk eventually, and Wolverine's had multiple fights with the Hulk. But there's two in the comics that are kind of iconic, right? There's the original one, and then there's the one from the Ultimate Universe. Now, the original one is the same sort of standard Hulk versus Wolverine fight you might expect, which is probably what they're going to do. But in the Ultimate one was funny because Ultimate Wolverine initially did not have an adamantium skeleton until much later in the story, right? So when he fought the Hulk eventually just rips him in half and throws them like apart. It's like it's kind of, the Ultimate Universe was hardcore. There's no, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then there's the
so
Old Man Logan one.
yeah, oh yeah, that too. But I mean, I liked Old Man Logan in general. I just thought some of the stuff was, mm, you know.
Yeah.
So let's hit up a few articles and random articles and see if anything interesting popped up in the last day or so since I looked. Let's try Bleeding Cool.
That'd be cool if they got Edward Norton to play the Hulk, like an alternate Hulk.
Well, the thing is this: I like Ed Norton as the Hulk, and
Yeah.
also I know he's difficult to work with, which is why he didn't come back for the Marvel movie, the rest of the Marvel movies. But if you go back and look at the history of that Hulk movie, he saved that movie. Like they were going to make the Hulk
Yeah.
talk and everything, and he
Yeah.
was like, "No, the Hulk can only say a couple words," like you know what I mean.
Right.
That movie was going to be a disaster until you literally rewrote it on the fly. So.
Yeah.
Let's do Bloody Disgusting and see what they have to say. Shelley Duvall. Yeah, that's great. I will mention it. We might find it. I saw an article on my phone from one of these sites where if you like the Conjuring TV movie series, they're making the final Conjuring movie finally. Overall, that's been a good horror franchise. Bounding in Comics. Yeah, oh, here it is. The end of an era. The Conjuring, the final Conjuring film is being done here. The fourth and final film in the series, which is okay. Though, if you haven't seen it yet, the best movie of the year is a horror movie called Late Night with the Devil. It is an almost amazing movie. Some stuff at the end kind of makes it not like if the ending were perfect, it would be 10 for 10. As it is, it's a 9.3 or 9.4 out of 10. I don't know if you like horror, let's hit up Collider. Okay. Let's grab a Geek Tyrant. Oh man. I just can't. I mean, I don't watch a lot of these like like really horrible like spoof movies, but we've seen like films about space sharks before. So this,
Yeah. Space sharks.
yeah,
More space sharks.
yeah, more space sharks. And Deadline. I'll find one more article, then we can call it. And, by the way, are there any questions the audience has, or any topics you guys want us to sound off on? Okay. Let's check a few music sites. If you're a fan of like Scandinavian folk metal, In Extremo came out with a new album, and they did some music videos for it. Yeah, now so okay, nothing here. Let's Movie Web. And okay, if nothing else on this last screen rant. Now, I just saw something that I should mention now. So, George R. R. Martin and the Never to Be Completed Song of Ice and Fire series, apparently. He did give a non-update update where he says something like, promise it's coming soon again, so which means we're probably not going to see it again. You know what I mean? No.
Yeah.
Kind of sad. I wish he would let someone else finish the damn series if he dies. Though he says he's in good health, so maybe he will live to 90 and finish writing. Who knows? Oh, we got it's funny how Dempsey had something. It's showing up in our chat in StreamYards, but not in YouTube, not on the YouTube chat. So Dempsey X is being sued by the EU, and Elon told him he can't wait to do a very public court battle so people can see the truth. Yeah. So what's happening there is, I saw this, by the way, on Twitter. Elon has revealed that they offered him a secret deal that if he censures people, they'll let him run carte blanche, basically, in Europe, right? For anything, right? So as long as he censors people, So Elon is going to war with these morons. Oh my God, Dempsey! I think YouTube suppressed your comments.
Man,
let's not get picture in picture here, but do you see in our private the chat that's in StreamYard? See the two comments I linked for Dempsey, right? Do you see them there, Jacob?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if you're watching the stream, but YouTube chat did not show them. Oh wait, oh no, I have top chat on. Let's do live chat. So Dempsey, yeah, okay. When I turn live chat on, there. That was me. Sorry. Well, actually, it is suppressing because if live chat happened to not show the only two political comment, you know what I mean? Like it didn't random show others. Like so it is. So it is. It is suppression. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's paranoia over. Yeah, but it's going to be interesting. Elon is going to war with these people of all sorts. He's suing. He's funding lawsuits of people suing for social media defamation. And I mean, I don't want to say that they'll unalive him, but if you had asked me who are the two most likely to be unalived by the left in this country in the next 3 years, a certain orange man running for president and Elon Musk. So.
Yep.
Because the left in this country is getting seems like they're getting as dangerous as the left in some banana republic countries. You know what I mean?
Or somebody that was in 1930s somewhere.
Oh yeah, yes. As the left got in 1930s World War II Germany, pre-World War II Germany, when they elected a socialist, the leader, the National Socialist Party, led by a certain person whose name rhymed with Hitler, and who was a socialist, a leftist, and committed atrocities. And that's the model the left is following, even though they won't admit that.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you ever want to see, by the way, the best book, and a lot of historians crap on it because it wasn't written by a historian, but really the reason they're crapping on it is because they're a bunch of leftists and they don't want the information out. It's not like a secret information. His name is William Shirer. He was a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, and the book was called "The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich." And he was in he was a British field journalist, investigative journalist in Germany on and off from the 20s and the 30s, and he documented in his book the rise and fall of the Third Reich. And there's a lot of information about the politics, about what the political parties were doing, how the National Socialists manipulated events, how they had a group of thugs, kind of like their version of Antifa, and when they got to power, then they purged those guys and made another group of thugs. It was the SS and the SD, whatever came first, for the National Socialists. There's a lot of interesting stuff in that book. If you ever want to read it, my brother stole it from me years ago, and I was like, I keep teasing him. Are you ever going to return that book you borrowed from me 20 years ago? It's like, I had a nice copy of it though. I had a copy. I think that was older than I am. Okay, I think that's so. Let's say thank you to the audience, which was Dempsey. Dempsey's obviously the main one. Melvin, Jacob, of course, is participating in the chat and in the live. And usually I get one or two listeners who can't talk at all, but like Pop sometimes, or Roman, or whatnot. So anyway, thank you for all who's listening live and in chat. I hope you all have a great weekend. I will be doing late. Okay, so what's before I do coming for everyone, I want to just explain one thing. So when I do my wrestling videos, I record them as live chats just to talk freely about it. You know what I mean? So it's not a planned live chat. If you see me pop up online doing a wrestling video, I'm not doing like a regular live chat. I'm just doing it like a matter of convenience. You know what I mean? So later on, or I'll probably later on or tomorrow doing a wrestling video, which is going to be a live chat, a live video, but about Stephanie Vacour and her signing to WWE. There's a lot of politics, a lot of interesting storylines to that. Okay. Now let's do what's coming up. So Jacob, what do you got coming up?
Well, Monday night I will be on Cannoli's channel, and we'll be going over the movie Twister. And then on my channel, Tuesday night I'll be going over the movie The Wrong Man. Mm-hmm. It's a Henry Fonda, Alfred Hitchcock movie. And then I'll be on Roman's show on Thursday.
I feel like force choking myself now. About to cry. But it's the last episode of the Crap Alike.
Yeah.
Well, you will see a 9-tailed crate dragon appear.
Yes.
The next time I will be on Jacob's show, I know Masters of the Air is it next month?
I don't know if I'm don't know if I'm gonna do that. I've kind of canceled that Saturday show.
Okay, let's give you have to cancel it. I mean, it's fine. Although at some point we got to talk about that show. We've been putting it off too long.
Yeah, I do.
About why I think why it succeeded and why it failed. Like why it didn't do as well. Why it wasn't as good as the first one was. So.
Yeah.
And if you're wondering why I'm not on the Alien stream, anyone like Dempsey, I deliberately did not sign up for it because though I like the movie, it would just be me shitting all over it because I do not give it anything like the respect that most other people do. There's a lot of flaws in that movie. If you heard my lament during Jacob's Alien talk, I all the great stuff in Alien that they could have done sequels about, and they turned them almost all of them before Prometheus into just action fests, like action fests. With a little bit of, I mean, the reason Aliens is better than most of the other ones is because they did have some of that in there, but it still devolved into just an action fest after they revealed, spoilers for a 30-year-old movie. They revealed the the fact that they were sent this back and being sabotaged again. They do all the reveals and then it just becomes an action film again, so
yeah.
And so that's that. As far as what I got coming up, so obviously next Friday, Friday Fandemonium. Next Thursday, Roman Empire, the last episode of the Crapolite, right? The last chance for you to see any of us have a stroke on screen. Next Wednesday, I will be on Wednesday night as overbooked as a regular at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Though it does start early sometimes. That's a wrestling talk show. I will have upcoming episodes for. Well, okay. I want to do a book review of. Let me make myself prominent. I want to do a book review of this, which is Christopher Tolkien's edition of A Baron and a Luthien, which is kind of the summary of all the versions of Baron and Luthien J.R.R. Tolkien ever wrote, and the differences and all that about the evolution of the story. And when I finish The Great Escape, I will do a book review of this. I should have coming up, hopefully by the end of the weekend, reviews of Sharp season 4 episode 2 and Hornblower episode 2, which is season 1 episode 2. And that I have a review. I have my post analysis of the WWE Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Watch it on Rumble because the YouTube made me edit out a bunch of 30-second chunks in my video if you want the wrestling content. And I'll have a wrestling picks view video next week for TNA's Slammiversary, which is a wrestling event that happens on the 20th. And I think that's it for me. So,
cool.
Any closing thoughts, Jacob, or are we gonna just head out?
Yeah, I'll just head out. Thanks for having me again.
Have a great weekend. Avoid watching the crap light. We'll take the pain for you. Stay safe.
Bye, yo.